Welcome to Sold Out. This is the podcast where we travel through time and try to see the biggest movies on the big screen, only to find out that they're sold out. But we're already at the theater, and just like in the 90s, we see something else instead. I'm Ian, movie lover and media critic. I'm here with my co-host, Michael Smith.
Hey, Ian. I am Michael Smith, former film student, film critic for quite some time. I used to write for outlets like the Fansided Network and MoviePass, and now I am the very enthusiastic co-host of Sold Out.
I am the very enthusiastic co-host to your enthusiastic co-host of Sold Out.
So much enthusiasm.
Overjoyed to be here. So, especially because this week we traveled to May of 1989 to see Indiana Jones. My birth. You were saying. And we were here to see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. But since it is sold out, because that is the theme of the show, and we're going to see two movies before we actually get to see Indiana Jones, what else is showing?
All right, we've got some options here. We have the number 2 movie the week Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade opened was Hear No Evil, See No Evil.
I have seen all of their buddy ups. Well, I had seen all their buddy ups except for that one. And I really love Silver Streak. Stir Crazy is a blast. I mean, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor are comic geniuses, right?
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one would almost think that choosing that movie would have been a no-brainer.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? And yet...
What happened to us, Ian?
Well, so we actually did choose this movie. We selected this film for this week's pod. Michael, how much of it did you watch?
Roughly half.
I did watch the whole thing.
I'm sorry.
And we decided to watch something else.
This is the first time we've done this. I mean, today is episode 4, but we did a ton of rehearsals. We went through this. There are a lot of movies that we've watched and discussed.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time we ditched a movie.
I don't think we've ever ditched a movie before. Like, you did not love Rollerball.
I did not love Rollerball, but Rollerball at least had like a layer or two to talk about.
Yeah.
Hear No Evil, See No Evil had one joke that didn't work and then was repeated ad nauseum.
I had all the audio cues set up. I had my script. It was light, but I had my script. And we decided to dispense with See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Hear No Evil, See No Evil. I don't even know what order it is.
I've been saying it one way. I might have screwed that up.
I don't know which way.
See No Evil, Hear No Evil on the paper.
It doesn't matter.
I said it the other way.
I think we can both confidently say to any of our viewers that come here for recommendations of movies,
watch one of the other Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor
literally
matchups.
Any other one. Yeah. I mean, fun fact about this movie, Gene Wilder was offered it like 3 times, turned it down. And then on the 3rd time, decided that he would rewrite the script to solve it. And I think he may have been polishing a turd.
Yeah, maybe.
So, all right, what else is playing?
But luckily, we have other choices.
I love that.
Quite a few. We have Roadhouse.
Oh, dang, I've never seen that.
Pet Sematary.
I've never seen that either.
Nor have I. Major League, which I have seen.
Have I seen Major League? I don't know if I have.
Charlie Sheen.
Oh, no, I know what it is. I mean, it was on the Blockbuster shelf. That movie was always that and Hot Shots. They were just
sequels.
Always there.
Yeah. And another baseball movie, Field of Dreams.
Never seen that.
I've seen Field of Dreams.
Okay.
I like Field of Dreams.
You like Field of Dreams. Are you a baseball guy?
I am a baseball guy. I'm less a baseball guy than I am some other sports, but
okay.
But I do like baseball.
So when I lived in Boston for a little while, you kind of have to be a baseball guy. Otherwise, some townie will beat the shit out of you.
That seems right.
But in all actuality, it's a really fun city to be a baseball guy in because the city really does rally around its team and they love their team so much. And so I got into baseball for a while I was there. And I'll be honest, I still love going to a game.
I think, and actually, I have some notes about this as we start talking about the movie. Going to baseball games, there is something really special about just like a day at the ballpark, I think.
Totally agree. I love it. Yeah.
And I don't think it makes great TV always, but I will go to a baseball game anytime I'm given an opportunity to do so.
I actually love baseball on the radio. I agree it doesn't make great TV, but like a really great announcer can make a baseball game.
Because it's very technical.
Yeah. Well, what else is playing? Anything?
Pink Cadillac and K9. I don't know what either of those are.
I tried to look up what Pink Cadillac was. I don't remember. It must not have stuck with me because I don't remember what it was. Well, we got to pick something. I'm wondering, do you think that maybe there's a clue as to what we should take?
I think we should take, He
will listen. Did you hear that?
I did. What was that?
He recorded. Huh.
Well, I think
What do you think that means?
it means that we're watching Field of Dreams.
You get the popcorn? I'll get the ticks.
Let's do it. You fucker.
I'm 36 years old. I love my family. I love baseball, and I'm about to become a farmer.
If you build it, he will come.
Do you think I'm crazy?
What are you watching?
The Baseball Man.
Who the hell are you?
I better be getting home. At least she'll think I got a girlfriend.
But watch out for in your ear.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I mean, it's about time that Ian has, a joke that's just for Ian.
No, that joke was actually for you, for being honest. All right. We just watched Field of Dreams. Never seen it before. I've got a lot to say about it, but before we dive in, are you down to take a quick break?
Let's take a break.
All right, let's take a break, and then when we come back with more Sold Out, where we'll discuss Field of Dreams. All right, welcome back to Sold Out. We just watched Field of Dreams, a baseball movie?
A baseball movie.
A baseball movie?
Be with baseball.
A movie that has a baseball in it. Michael, break it down. What's it about?
All right, Iowa farmer Ray Kinsella hears voices, or specifically, one voice, whispering, if you build it, he will come. And there's a vision of Shoeless Joe Jackson, a baseball diamond in his cornfield, and unable to shake that supernatural pole, he uproots a portion of his farm and builds that baseball diamond at the risk of losing everything.
That fool plows under his crops, which I've never heard that term before. So I want to talk about Field of Dreams' connections to classic film.
Yeah.
It does a lot of referencing to several films, actually. We get his daughter, Karen, watching Harvey, and then we get the reference to Citizen Kane and Rosebud. And we also have reference to The Godfather that places us in time. So it's really reaching at some like major classic films. So it references The Wizard of Oz within the film, but I don't think it even needs to explicitly reference it because this is a film that takes place in the Midwest. It is a film that has great fantastical elements that lead someone towards some kind of spiritual I don't even know what I want to say what it leads Ray towards because that's going to be something I want to talk about, which is why does Ray do any of this? You know, there's a moment in which Ray asks, "What's in it for me?" And I'm been kind of asking the same question the whole movie, which is, "What isn't in it for you, Ray?" But the movie, it is sort of in that vein. So it feels like the only way that I can even try to understand this movie because I really struggle to understand what was the point of the film? You love Wizard of Oz. What do you love about Wizard of Oz?
I love Wizard of Oz because I think it just does all of the stuff about like that movies do well, right? It has, really great practical sets. The costumes and makeup are great. I think there's solid performances. There are musical numbers that work. It's just if you're going to kind of take a movie from, the 1930s, just a classic movie, and you want to get kind of all of the elements of classic cinema, I think you can get it in that one movie.
Okay. I mean, I guess...
And it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Field of Dreams doesn't do that. But what I see is that there's a Midwestern farmer that's presented with a strange and supernatural like call to action, which to me, this is go down the yellow brick road. Why does Dorothy do it? She's told that at the other side of the yellow brick road that something wonderful will happen for her. She'll be able to go home, whatever that thing is, right? He's told that if he builds a baseball field in his cornfield, that he will come, the pronoun he, we don't know who he is, And of course, I think we automatically assume it's Shoeless Joe Jackson.
And Ray assumes it's Shoeless Joe Jackson.
I think that we have every reason to assume it is Shoeless Joe Jackson because he comes and because there's a lot about Shoeless Joe.
I mean, as you're saying this, I can see one maybe piece of it, which is that at the end of the yellow brick road, when Dorothy eventually kind of gets home, there is this like reconciliation with family that becomes a part of this movie. I don't know.
I mean, but going along with this, like, is Terrence the lion? he's lost his bravery, Terrence Mann, to confront the inequities of society through writing or whatever it was that he was doing before. I guess I saw so many parallels. I mean, I think even Dr. Graham could potentially be one of his traveling companions. And then there's Annie as well, who, you know, all of these people support him and push him forward towards this ultimate dream, going down this path of eventually figuring out who he is, who has come.
Yeah.
So it's literally the only way I can understand this movie, because I really struggled to understand what the plot or the purpose of the movie was. So I was reaching for a template to try to say, okay, how do I understand this series of scenes that I don't want to say they're not connected, but like, I don't know what the point of them is. Like, I don't know where we're going.
There are certain subplots and scenes that like move the plot forward in some way, but I don't necessarily find the thematic connection, and I don't know the best way into those. I think we'll get there as we kind of talk about the movie.
Okay.
But I think opening this up, so the movie starts and there's a voiceover from Ray, and he talks about kind of who he is, where he came from, lost his mother when he was young, was raised by his father. They didn't have a great relationship. They became estranged, never reconciled before his father died, but they shared baseball for better and worse. Ray has obviously held on to that, right? Like, Ray very much romanticizes baseball and connects it to his father. The only positive memories he has of his father seem to be related to baseball, even though he also says that in a lot of ways, baseball is what tore them apart.
And maybe this is where I struggle with Ray, though, because like, we hear Ray say that in the opening introduction to the film, where he's doing the voiceover. But I don't see evidence in Ray's life at any moment that he really loves baseball. I don't see him play a game. He doesn't have any baseball paraphernalia in his life. Like, Ray feels like this blank slate to me. And so I actually have and this is why I was looking for a way into the movie, because Ray's not my way into this movie. I don't connect to Ray at all. I don't understand his motivations. They seem to be extrinsic as opposed to intrinsic. I mean, this is important to me. Like, the whole drive of the entire film is that he hears a voice that comes from without. Now, if he was the only one who heard the voice, I'd say, okay, that's a stand-in for his internal motivation, for his internal fears about not doing something special or wonderful with his life.
No, but the voice is real.
The voice is real. Other people hear the voice. So to me, that actually, it makes Ray empty to me, because that's all Ray is to me, is the voice. And he's not the only one who hears it, because what does he love? I don't know. What does he care about? Baseball?
Well, but I see Ray as someone who is unsatisfied. I think he...
But they tell us that, but I don't feel like I'm ever showed that he's unsatisfied.
So maybe that's true. But we do
I never
know,
feel it. That's the thing, is it never hits me that he's unsatisfied.
We do know that his broken relationship with his dad is affecting him in some way. We know that he never really wanted to be a farmer, but he is a farmer. Doesn't seem like he's actually great at being a farmer. He's not necessarily fulfilled by being a farmer. There is an emptiness to him. What you're, I think, seeing in the character is the thing, and the movie is this voice. And what we don't know is the motivation of the voice, why the voice is there, what the voice wants, why it picks him. But the voice is there to push him towards finding that fulfillment or discovering what it is that he's fulfilled by.
I mean, you say the voice picks him. Maybe he's the only one who listens to the voice because of all the reasons that you listen. Maybe because we know that other people hear the voice, and that at least gives me more with Ray because again, you say that he's dissatisfied, but I don't feel like the movie ever shows me that he's dissatisfied with his life. They sort of say, he went to Berkeley, was an English major, and now he's which I was like, oh yeah, well, English majors are crazy. Of course they hear voices. Anybody who... And then, they try to blame it on an acid flashback at one point. And I guess that's the other thing in this movie that I thought was strange. And maybe this is changing topics too rapidly, but I kind of want to figure out, is this like a conservative movie that's wearing bell bottoms? Or is this a progressive movie that's wearing a dad jacket?
I don't think it is either. And I think...
But it so clearly sets the idea of the 50s up against the idea of the 60s. And this is in 1989, in which Reagan is reaching back. I mean, he's just finished, and now we've elected, George Herbert Walker Bush, right? But he's been reaching back into the 50s to say, let's go back to this time when things were wonderful, when everything was great, this strong nostalgia around the nuclear family, around making money and growing your nest egg and doing everything in very traditional ways. The movie is a direct affront on it in, the Annie's.
Kinda. Like, yes, Annie is a direct affront to it, but there are other things that do the exact opposite.
Well, no, because you have Terrence Mann, who is a direct affront to it. You have Annie, and everything about Berkeley is coded as that. In fact, I do love that when Ray starts researching Terrence Mann, he puts on his Berkeley t-shirt. I'm doing studying now. I'm going to go to the library and do my studying. Let me put on my studying t-shirt so that everybody in Iowa knows I went to Berkeley, because I want to make sure everyone in this town fucking hates me.
Well, he's doing a good job of that. They do hate him. But I don't know that it takes a side. What I think is that what the movie is doing is exploring this idea of sort of generational reconciliation. That it seems like every generation that comes after sort of rejects the one before it. And because that is what happens, you have this back and forth that happens. And so that happens in families, and then it also happens in cultures.
Well, so you say there's a back and forth, but who's arguing for the 50s and conservatism?
So this is baseball.
What character?
Baseball.
Baseball,
yeah. So
I see this as really being that progressive thing, and they're putting baseball on to sort of say, see how American it is to be progressive.
So baseball, of the big sports in America, baseball is the most romantic. Mm-hmm. It's the most rooted in tradition. It, I would argue, has the fans that are the most resistant to change and are the most insistent on holding on to the sport's purity, right? Like baseball took a very long time to introduce like instant replay review. Like rule changes, no matter when they happen, are met with a lot of resistance. In some ways, to the detriment of the sport commercially. I think that baseball is the stand-in for that resistance to the change, or that conservative side. And baseball is revered and romanticized in this movie. And then you have Annie, Terrence Mann, who are obviously like the progressive side.
See, as I was watching it, the movie, all the characters that I meant to align with, that I meant to see the film through, that I meant to experience the film through, they all skew hippie. Like they all skew 60s to me, whether it's Terrence Mann, even Ray, right? I mean, we know he's an English major. We know he doesn't want to be a farmer. So to me, I feel like what it did was it was like, we want to kind of put forward this like semi-progressive message and maybe rewrite the history and the nostalgia of America just a little bit. But the way we will get the dads, which again, I've got my dad costume on today. We've got my glasses hanging all dingle-dangle around my neck.
You have the dingle-dangle.
But the way that we can get dads to watch this movie and accept this message is by cloaking ourselves in to my mind, what are sort of the big three? The Midwest, baseball, and money. Everybody likes all three of those things. And so now we can take those things and say, oh, don't you see that those were also part of like the 60s and the things that people of the 60s liked. And now we can sort of do this little pivot. And to me, this is almost like I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, this is the pivot from Reagan era politics to the Clinton years. This is the like sort of like neoconservative, we're still cool, smoking weed is okay, but we love capitalism and like, I feel like this movie was like predicting Clinton's election. I mean, the guy from Arkansas who smoked weed in college, that's what this movie is.
That's interesting.
Are we finding ourselves in a disagreement once again?
I don't know. I don't think it's that deep.
Well, I don't know what else to do with it if it's not that deep, because to me, it looks like they're trying to reclaim this future by romanticizing the past, but romanticizing it in a completely different way than we've been doing as a nation for the last 10 years. And maybe this is why the movie left me feeling just a little dissatisfied, because that to me was the more interesting thing that was happening in the movie. but it never has like any kind of payoff because the payoff is just in having a catch.
Well, but that's why I think I question your premise a little bit, is that the payoff is the catch, right? And so you have the two generations that are at odds with each other coming together, and a lot of it is about not letting that conflict, those differences, that tension break the more important things, right? That you can have a connection, that when you lean too far into those differences and you have that break, you hold on to the pain of that break forever until you can reconcile it.
Yeah, but like, why specifically use the character of Terrence Mann? You could have any author be a part of this narrative, but they choose somebody who. I want to cut to a clip really quickly and then just kind of discuss this. So
sure.
That book you're waving about is hardly smut. It is considered by many critics to be the classic novel about the 1960s.
It's pornography!
No. The Supreme Court says it's not.
Bad argument.
That was before.
Mr. Harris, the so-called
back when we had some
novels
respect for the
of
Supreme Court.
Terrence Mann endorse promiscuity, godlessness, the mongrelization of the races, and disrespect to high-ranking officers of the United States Army. And that is why right-thinking school boards all across the country have been banning this man's S-H-I-T since 1969.
Excuse me, madam. Terrence Mann was a warm and gentle voice of reason during a time of great madness. He coined the phrase, make love, not war. While other people were chanting, burn, baby, burn, he was talking about love and peace and understanding.
This scene, I both like it a lot and I struggle with it because I think it's probably one of the most poorly written scenes in the movie. He coined the phrase "make love, not war." Like everything's being coded in very, very, these sayings that are almost meaningless, right? But I also think it's an important core to the film, and it's actually this is where the film kind of lost me, because what I see here is a moment in which. Because the world has to change. I mean, building this field in his cornfield, he is asking the world around him to change because everyone has a problem with it. People are coming and trying to take his farm as a result of it. I mean, his family is, which we can also talk about, like how quickly they forgive the brother-in-law for buying his farm and dropping their daughter off the back of the bleachers and total forgiveness. But it's dealing with all of those things. And now I've lost my thread because I got all caught up on the brother-in-law. He's such an asshole.
He sucks.
So getting back to Annie, right? So Ray's not trying to change the world. Ray's not actually trying to do anything. He's just following the voice.
He feels a pull.
He feels a pull and he's following the pull. Annie is getting engaged in her community. She's talking to people. She's standing up, which for something that I think we can both argue is right, which is don't ban books. And, we currently exist in an era in which this continues to be a problem with talking about banning books. And he pulls her out of this meeting because he hears another voice about ease his pain. I don't know, that scene really frustrates me because I see in Annie somebody who has enormous energy, who has ideas, who has passion. And yeah, her argument is not particularly cogent. But, as somebody who has now been recorded on mic and camera for several hours, I'm not going to criticize people for having less than cogent arguments.
That's fair. No, I actually agree. This scene is one of the ones I have the most trouble with too, because I'm not really sure why it's there.
It's like a misdirect.
Because it does. It deals with a pretty relevant theme, right? This idea of banning books and censorship and all of that. And doesn't really do anything with it.
Well, and the 60s versus the 50s. This is where I'm and this is right in the core of this movie where it says, I think she tells her oh, you didn't live in the 60s. And I actually remember boomers saying things like that to me when I was a kid. Oh, you didn't live through the 60s. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah. But I know what it's intended to mean. It just doesn't have any emotional punch for me.
One of the criticisms that I do have of the movie is that the plot moves forward and it's to kind of get Ray to the next thing. But it is difficult to understand why that happens. Why each step is taken.
Well, yeah, I guess, I struggle finding the logical connection between.
And it's because this movie really is, it's a very romanticized like feelingsy movie that's meant to sort of like pull the heartstrings, be nostalgic. It plays with emotions. It's about familial relationships, right? And
maybe this is why this movie let me down. So I was listening to an interview with Phil Alden Robinson, the writer-director of the movie. You know, it's based on a book, but he did a lot of rewriting for this. And he actually says that, like, this is one of the only movies he ever made that when someone tells him that they don't like it, he's like, oh, yeah, I get that. I understand why someone would not like this movie, because this movie, like, you either get it or you don't get it. But his separation is, like, you either buy into the magical realism or you don't. And my issue with this movie is I buy into the magical realism. I was like, yeah, I'm all about suspension of disbelief.
That's actually one of the things I love about it, is that this is a movie that is very much for adults and is also very much a fantasy.
Absolutely. No, I liked that about it. I'm sappy as hell. I cry at fucking everything.
Yeah.
And I've got dead dad issues. This movie should be for me. And it doesn't connect at all. Like, any of the emotional beats just do not connect for me. I fucking played catch with my dad. And like, it's like there are things in this movie that really should resonate. And I don't know why. It never hits an emotional string for me. And the intellectual things that it brings up, it doesn't connect on.
Yeah, I guess as I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about the themes of the movie, and I really do think it's a movie about reconciliation. It's about righting past wrongs. And if we think about what those past wrongs are in the movie, there are a few big ones, right? There's Ray's kind of destruction of his relationship with his father. There's Terrence Mann being vilified and sort of forced into, seclusion. And then there is Shoeless Joe Jackson and his being banned from baseball.
What about Dr. Graham, though? Where does he fit into all that?
So Dr. Graham is very different. He doesn't have, I don't think, a past injustice. He actually tells a very kind of contradictory lesson, I think.
His lesson confuses me.
Because what I see is those three sort of injustices that we're playing with, right? And they all come from very different directions, right? Like, if you want to go with this like left, right, conservative, progressive thing, right? Like you potentially have the conservatives oppressing the progressives in the Terrence Mann scenario.
Yeah.
You have kind of the reverse happening with Ray and his father, where, Ray is the one who's going to Berkeley, who's, resisting his dad's wanting him to like continue his legacy, right? His dad's was a baseball player. His career never took off. He was really hoping to have that same thing happen for his son. That's kind of a, if not conservative, but a sort of traditional ideal. Ray breaks that and fractures their relationship.
Okay.
And then the Joe Jackson injustice is the more straightforward one, which is that you had sort of this innocent, naive person caught up in something unsavory and bears, all of the consequences despite being mostly innocent. Like, he's a victim of circumstance more than anything else.
Well, I mean, that is debatable, but I guess within the context of the movie, that seems to be the case, that he was a victim of circumstance.
And so as we go through this movie, every beat seems to be something that will happen that will get us to this place where all of those injustices are able to be rectified.
And maybe, again, this is going to continue to be like where the movie loses me is like, they're rectified, but with dead people. Like, they're not rectified in actual life. So are they rectified? I guess, like, I want to see Ray have some kind of reconciliation and come to terms. And I see his emotional journey as maybe being potentially the most impactful part of the movie. Yeah. But the emotional journey of a ghost, I don't give a fuck. Like, how I just don't, I don't connect with how a dead person feels about something one way or the other. And so, like, and you mentioned Dr. Graham. I actually would like to cut to that as well now, because he does offer a weirdly contradictory lesson that I don't fully grasp where it fits into the movie.
Yeah.
And now, Ray Kinsella, I want to ask you a question. What's so interesting about a half an inning that would make you come all the way from Iowa to talk to me about it 50 years after it happened?
Solid question.
I didn't really know till just now, but I think it's to ask you if you could do anything you wanted, if you could have a wish?
And are you the kind of a man who could grant me that wish?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, you know, I never got to bat in the major leagues. I'd have liked to have that chance, just once. To stare down a big league pitcher. To stare him down, and just as he goes into his windup, wink. Make him think you know something he doesn't. That's what I wish.
This is contradictory to something that he says about it's more important for him to be a doctor and have done what he did.
Right.
And so
the sort of conversation that follows that, right, is, and I'll paraphrase, I don't know the exact quote, but Ray basically says, like, you know, the fact that you weren't able to have that, you weren't able to play baseball, like, isn't that a tragedy? You know, you only got to play baseball for 5 minutes or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Dr. Graham responds like, no, if I could only have been a doctor for 5 minutes, that would have been the tragedy. Right. And I think he says something like pretty relevant, or I like what that says, right? In that,
I like what that says too. That lesson to me makes more sense than
the life that he lived, despite not being his plans, was one where he found meaning, was able to have an impact, do very good things. And I believe that he lives without regret despite having that dream unfulfilled. And that sort of, like I said, is a bit contradictory to those other three examples I was giving.
Well, and so if you're looking at these as sort of the two paths forward, you know, Ray is going down his yellow brick road and he is being presented with various options of how he can move forward. He's 36 years old. He's not where he expected to be in life, but he has an incredibly fucking supportive, amazing wife. Like, we need to just give props to Amy, and she really deserves more in this movie than she gets.
Yeah.
But I do love that they took, you know, I think traditionally you have wives who had been like, you can't do this. This is impossible. But she is so supportive of him. It actually couldn't help but remind me of when I went to my wife and said, I'd like to convert our office into a pod studio so I can talk to my friend about movies.
Yeah.
And spend all of my spare time doing that. And she said, I love you. How can I help? So shout out to Annie and all the Annies in the world who support their crazy, egotistical husbands who do things that make no economic sense whatsoever. But I mean, Burt Lancaster, he doesn't follow his dream. He does something, you know, he does something that he finds to be meaningful. What is Ray doing that is meaningful? Building a baseball field is not, it's not a meaningful way to spend your life. It's like he's doing it through faith that something great will happen as a result. But I don't know what the great thing that happens is.
Yeah, we don't get to see it. Like, the movie ends before we see it.
Well, I mean, if you say before we see it, you're saying, and this is a great segue into, he makes a lot of money. Is that the great thing?
Does he?
I know it doesn't make sense because it's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to, right? This is an emotional thing. It's about.
But they're going to foreclose on his farm if he does not make money doing this thing. And it's really clear that he is, at the end of this movie, he's going to make an enormous amount of money doing this thing.
Is it enormous, or is it enough to save the farm?
The line of cars, I mean, they deliberately shoot it so it looks infinite. It goes beyond the horizon, and these are each people that will pay $20. I mean, he literally names the price in the speech. And I mean, shout out to James Earl Jones. His performance in this movie.
It is about nostalgia. It is about family and connection and faith, right? Like, the movie basically asks you to take a leap of faith like Ray does. Otherwise, you're going to be picking it apart the way that you are.
But I take the leaps of faith. I just don't understand at the end. I mean, we're going to go back to the Love and Death episode. I take all the leaps of faith, but at the end I'm like, why? Why did I take the leaps of faith? Because now I'm here and I'm at the end of the film and I don't know why I did it. I don't feel satisfied that I hopped along all of these rocks, from building the field to driving to Boston to driving to Minnesota to traveling back in time, which, you know, far be it from me to criticize time travelers. Yeah, I know. Especially who goes, I mean, he should have just seen The Godfather rather than talking to Dr. Graham. That's what I would have done. But we take all of these leaps and I'm here for it. And maybe that's just it. Maybe because the playing catch with his ghost dad doesn't connect for me.
Right. And I think that
I just feel very empty at the end of the movie. And I keep asking myself, what was this movie trying to tell me?
Yeah. And I don't know how to make that argument, because I think that it hinges on exactly what you just said. You either are going to have an emotional connection or you're not. That it's not like I concede. Like there's a lot about this movie that does not make sense. It's playing with emotion, and it's either going to work on you or it's not. And it works on me, and maybe I'm the sucker for it.
No, I don't think you're a sucker for it. I don't think anybody's wrong to like this movie. I want to like this movie. I want to get to the end of the movie where he plays catch with his dad and we realize it's his dad, and I want to weep. Like that's where I would like to be.
Do damn it. and that's why I'm saying, like it is this like movie that is I concede, like it is in some ways a cheap emotional play, and I fall for it every fucking time.
But I'm saying I love a cheap emotional play. Like I am not mad at a cheap emotional play. I think movies, I mean, we talk a lot about what we think movies should do. Like we love when they take big swings. We love when they try new things. But like movies are emotional experiences. I should be excited. I should be scared. I should be sad. It should be cathartic. All of those things. And for me, and maybe because of all of the intellectual head fakes in the movie, with Terrence Mann's writing, with references to the 60s and book banning, that those are
the things I have the most trouble with, because like I said, like the book banning argument, it is an intellectual one. It's one, like you said, like we can make modern connections to.
Yeah.
Even if imperfect.
But also the Reagan connections because of the timing of the movie.
But they're there, and even I, as someone who likes this movie, who falls for the emotional scenes, like I can't make those connections either. I just don't care, I guess.
Well, and maybe that's it. Is like those moments derailed me, and because I empathize so much more with Annie than I do with Ray, I'm following Annie's story.
Well, yeah, and I agree that Annie is great.
Annie's superb. I mean, the actress, I have her name here because I was like, I don't
recognize her from much.
I recognize her from one other thing.
Amy Madigan.
Yeah, Amy Madigan.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She is. She and Gabby Hoffman, who plays Karen, they're both in Uncle Buck, which is, it's definitely way up there in my John Hughes movies. Like, I'm not a big 16 Candles guy. I'm not even a big Breakfast Club guy. I love Uncle Buck. I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And, they're both in Uncle Buck, and they're both great. I love watching Amy Madigan just yell at John Candy. Like, she is great at yelling at John Candy. And she's great in this movie. I see her. She's so warm. She's so alive. I love her character. She's so supportive. He has the greatest, most supportive wife in the world. He had a fight with his dad before his dad died. Welcome to the club, bro. Just because he's not doing the thing he wants to do. But I don't even know what he wants to do. I think that's the other issue. It's like, I want to know, like, what was his dream? I don't know. Was it to be an English teacher? Was it to be a writer? I think if that had been in there somewhere.
And maybe this is the connection to Doc Graham, right? Is he now is doing this thing that he didn't see before, and he has, wrestled. That's too strong of a word. He has found a way to come to peace with sort of some of the past things that gave him difficulty emotionally. And now he's doing something new, something he didn't predict, but something that he is now ostensibly satisfied, fulfilled by, and finding meaning in.
I mean, I do think that's Ray's lesson, because Ray's not going to be a baseball player. He's 36.
He's not going to be a baseball player. He's not going to do anything with English.
And so
he's on the farm that he never thought he was going to be on, doing something he never thought he would do. And that's where he's going to find his happiness. That's his being a doctor.
So what is he going to do then? Because there is, it does sort of set up like the financial woes and realities of being an adult against chasing your dreams.
Yeah, I think that's just there to maybe raise the stakes a little bit, to show that he has something to lose by going on this fantastical journey that doesn't make any sense.
But the fantastical journey involves literally carving up like his economic livelihood. Like if we look at this cornfield, and again, I'm probably doing the wrong thing, but as like sort of a stand-in for the United States, and we say, well, we can make money out of this entire cornfield, and we should be really trying to extract every ounce of profitability from it as we can. And this is an argument for, no, it's important to have parks and museums and these other things that fill our souls, which I could say, okay, the baseball field is the thing that just having a baseball field makes you feel good. Like you look at it and you feel good that it's there, even though I know it's not making me money. It's not going to make $752 million, right? Yeah. And I guess that's the other thing, is I have a hard time divorcing baseball from capitalism because it is such a profitable sport, like especially coming out of this most recent year with the highest paid player of all time and, the insane budget of the Dodgers to win the most recent World Series, because it's romanticizing it, if I can make that detachment and say, okay, this is an argument for why we need to have beauty and poetry in the world, even though there is all of these reasons to extract, again, economic profit from something, I'm here for that argument. I appreciate that argument. I like that argument. I don't think the movie makes it cogently, but I do like that about the movie, that it sort of presents that in this sort of just trust me. This is a poem that I'm going to tell you that touches your soul somewhere within. And if it touched my soul, I would be more swayed. Yeah.
I mean, and whereas I come from the place where the Field of Dreams, the real Field of Dreams, it is still standing.
Yeah, they played a game at it recently.
The movie. And guess what? You can go and for $20, take a look around and tour the house.
There's no fucking way I'm paying $20 in 2025 money to go there, let alone 1989.
And you can go on a tour, and what it primarily serves as actually is a Little League field, right? So it primarily serves as a Little League field. There's the tourist aspect of it. Major League Baseball does play a game there each year. It's on a bit of a hiatus because, and I like this, the Little League is having another facility built right now. It's under construction. And so because they don't want to disrupt the Little League, the Major League Baseball is not having their game there.
Okay. I mean, that's a very baseball thing to do. There are these like traditions within baseball and respecting.
And so that's where I think like baseball becomes this like stand-in for tradition.
I think it does too. I mean, you and I agree on that point.
I mean, and like personally, like I have a photo of my dad and my daughter playing catch on the Field of Dreams.
No, you fucking don't.
I do.
You son of a bitch.
And so like, yeah.
You made me switch movies. We should have watched
again.
Like, Hear No Evil. You are connected to
I cannot be objective about this movie.
Well, I feel like you should have said that earlier in the episode before I started coming at it.
It is this like movie that's it's feelings, it's nostalgia, it's connection to your dad, and I have all of those things, and I will not let them go, even if you're a butthead about it.
Well, that feels like a really great place to stop. Normally, I like to hit you with a callback, but we'll just end with me being a butthead. We'll be right back with more Sold Out.
Welcome back to Sold Out. We just finished not arguing, but debating Field of Dreams a little bit. There may have been a little bit of name calling on my part.
Didn't call me a name, didn't you?
I did.
Wow. Keeping it mature.
Never. I won't even pretend. But now, it's one of my favorite parts of the show, which is where we name our MVP of the movie. So, Ian.
Yeah?
This is where I force you to say something nice about the movie.
I have nice things to say about the movie.
It's your MVP.
I think that there were some really good performances in the movie. I said I really loved Annie. Can't ever say a bad thing about James Earl Jones.
Yes.
But for today's MVP, I'm going James Horner, the composer. So James Horner was the only one who seemed to get that this was a ghost story.
Yeah.
And I love that in the score, he really makes it clear in this opening part where there is this tension. There is something sort of strange that's happening within the movie. And he finds a way of taking that theme and pulling it into the movie and making it into something inspirational. And I feel like the music affected me emotionally, probably more than anything about the story, probably more than anything about the performances. He actually, looking more into him, scored over 100 films, including Braveheart, Willow, and Titanic.
Ooh, Titanic.
Oh, I know. We'll get to Titanic, and we don't even need to. No one will be calling any names on that episode.
No.
Sadly, he died in 2015 in a plane crash. But
I didn't know that.
I think he unquestionably made the biggest contribution to the emotional resonance of Field of Dreams. He seemed to be, like I said, the only one who really got the full arc of the movie throughout the music. And the more I watched the movie, the more I started to sort of zone in on the music and realize that it was what was taking me along on this journey. And so I really appreciate his work, and I'd like to call him out for it and nominate him as my MVP.
I really love that pick because, as I have conceded, this is really a movie about an emotional pull more than it is about a logical pull. And there's really no better way to do that than with music often.
And with a great score like that.
And with a great score like that, I mean, I think it does pull you, and it very much works for that purpose. Great pick.
Thank you. Who's your pick?
My pick, it should surprise definitely not you and probably no one, is James Earl Jones. We didn't talk about him much. We didn't talk about his character too much, but he does give a fantastic performance. And for me personally, what I really liked about seeing James Earl Jones in this movie is James Earl Jones is Darth Vader and Mufasa to me. Like, that's what I think of when I think of James Earl Jones.
You ever seen Conan the Barbarian?
No, but I want to because I love Arnold.
Because that also changed. You know, he's the villain in that. Yeah. He's great.
And so he's always these like very like larger, not always, but in the two examples that I most associate him with, these like larger than life, like just like omnipresent beings in movies. Very different here.
Yeah.
He's a dude, right? Like
a little bit. Yeah. He's got some problems.
And he's someone who is very revered and very propped up, and he actually resists that in this, or his character does, and doesn't want to be the voice of everything. He doesn't want to be, the lion in the sky that's making everything, better and make sense. And he's funny and light, and it's just like a big difference from what I expect when I think of James Earl Jones. And aside from that, he's just, whenever he's on screen, he's just great. Like, he's just fun to watch.
He is. He's a great actor.
Fun to watch. He delivers every line great. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, one of my favorite lines of the movie is when Ray is trying to get Terrence Mann to talk to him. Terrence Mann's very resistant to talking to him.
That's an understatement.
Ray basically breaks into his apartment. Not basically, literally breaks into his apartment to try to get him to talk to him.
He's really lucky he didn't die in that scene.
Terry grabs a crowbar and he's like, I'm going to beat you to death with a crowbar. and Ray's on the ground, like, he's like, but you're a pacifist. And James Earl Jones, in a way that only James Earl Jones can deliver, just says, shit, and puts the crowbar down. And I loved it so much. It killed me. And every scene that James Earl Jones is in is better than every scene that he is not in.
The lesson I learned from that scene is never make it public that you're a pacifist.
Because it will be used against you.
It will be used against you in every breaking and entering scenario for the remainder of your life. And you mentioned The Lion King. You want to talk about sappy movies that make me cry about dead dads?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. That one kills me. Well, it has been a lot of fun talking this movie with you, even though I didn't like it as much as you did.
We agree too much, so it's always fun when we disagree.
Yeah.
He's such a good podcast. You're so lucky.
What's up?
Oh, you didn't hear that?
Hear what?
He's such a good podcast.
No.
You're so
lucky. Thought I heard something.
I didn't hear anything at all. I don't know what you're laughing about. It's been really fun talking Field of Dreams with you this week.
What are we doing next week? Well, we are definitely staying in 1989. We will get ourselves to Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. Perhaps the least celebrated of the Indiana Jones movies?
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't get like a ton of ire the way like Crystal Skull does either, so maybe.
We're not even going to talk about Crystal Skull.
But yeah, we are still going to be in 1989. We are still going to be trying to see Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull. Not Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
And the Last Crusade. But we're going to see one more movie before we catch the Last Crusade. So we're going to hang in 89 for just a couple more weeks. I'm looking forward to it. 89's, I mean, here's the thing. Didn't love Field of Dreams. Didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than Rollerball.
It's definitely better than Rollerball.
Better than Rollerball, worse than Jaws. How's that for you?
Much better than Hear No Evil, See No Evil, or See No Evil, Hear No Evil, whatever it is.
We agree 100% on Field of Dreams.
There we go.
I knew we could find common ground. We've got our reconciliation.
We did. See, now let's go play catch. Until then, thank you everyone for joining us here on Sold Out. In the meantime, make sure to follow us on all the socials at soldout_pod. Visit us at upleftmedia.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, learn a little bit more about us and our shows. Ian, where can they follow you?
Well, they can follow me at
Ian_upleft at anywhere.
And more about that newsletter, if you want to know what movie we're watching each week and get an early heads up on it, that is a great way to find out.
Fantastic. And I am at Michael_upleft, and we will see you next week.
See you next week on Sold Out.
Sold Out is an Upleft Media production. Hosted, written, and produced by Ian Tarter and Michael Smith. Edited and sound engineered by Ian Tarter. With special thanks to Rosie Page.